Welcome back to the Manc Entrepreneur YouTube channel. And in today's live episode, I am going to be doing a bit of a rundown and a bit of a comparison between eBay and Amazon's Q4 2017 results. Now, this came out of an earnings report that was published last week, towards the end of last week. And this basically gives us the results of how eBay and Amazon both did in Q4 last year, basically the Christmas period. And there's some very, very interesting figures, and I thought it was an interesting talking point, which was worth me sharing with you. That's what we're doing today. Now, I remember when eBay was actually bigger than Amazon. I remember when eBay was the larger marketplace. And I also remember that when I started my first business, eBay and Amazon were roughly the same size. Their audiences were roughly the same. And this was back when Love Film was an independent and Amazon Instant Video wasn't a thing. I'm not really sure if Prime was out back then. But as we're going to be looking at in this episode is just what has happened in the scope of e-commerce marketplace in sort of Western world, at least over the past 5 years, especially. So with that said, we're going to start off with eBay. And I've jotted down some notes on like interesting facts and some numbers here. And then just for eBay and Amazon. And then there's sort of like a big number, which really highlights the difference. So unless stated otherwise, these are numbers for Q4. So just Q4, just from like, I think September to December, I presume that's what it runs from. So firstly, eBay active buyers grew by 5% to 170 million. That's how many active eBay buyers there were in Q4 on the eBay marketplaces. Actual marketplace growth grew by 6%. Make of that what you will. Is that good? Is that bad? Don't really know. It's probably well, putting this in perspective, StubHub, which is an eBay-owned company, for anyone, like I say, in the UK, it's not really that big over here. In the US, it's a much bigger deal. It's a bit like Ticketmaster here in the UK. They sell tickets to sporting events largely and concerts. StubHub grew 15%, and the classifieds platform grew by 13%. So actually the marketplace was one of the smaller growth areas for eBay in Q4. Make of that what you will. And also Devin Wenig has come out and said that he projects eBay in 2018 to grow on the whole, this is, like I said, for the whole of 2018, to grow by 7 to 9% and be reporting revenues of approximately $11 billion. 11 billion sounds like a lot of money. So yeah, we'll come on to that in a minute. There's some of the key facts from eBay. Now, when we have a look over at Amazon, the first stat we have to remember that Amazon don't really announce, well, they have never really announced some like specific numbers for their Prime members. I think they gave us a clue last year sometime. It is now estimated that there's over 100 million Prime users, we suspect, just in the USA. Certainly more than 100 million users globally. That's just Prime. So again, we think active buyers on eBay grew to 170 million by the end of Q4. Amazon's estimated to have over 100 million Prime users. This is sort of giving you an idea of where we're going with this. Net sales for 2017 were 177.8 billion. 177 billion in net sales. Now compare that to what eBay are projecting to be at the end of this year, at the end of 2018. They're hoping to be 11 billion for yearly sales by the end of this year. At the end of 2017, Amazon did 177 billion, nearly 178 billion. Crazy. Now, the interesting point is on international sales, Amazon made a loss. So for all the international sales on the Amazon platform, Amazon reported a loss of $919 million, nearly $1 billion. And a lot of people were surprised by that. I am absolutely not surprised by that. You think about in the USA as a marketplace, there's dozens of fulfillment centers across the USA. The logistics network is already built. They're looking to build, obviously, HQ2. We suspect most likely in Atlanta, but there's a few other contenders there as well. So, there's definitely going to be some further investment in the US through 2018. But as it stands, the US is largely a mature platform and one which there's not needed much major investment. Similarly with the UK, I don't think there's much more investment that really needs to go on here. We have some very well-placed fulfillment centers, and the logistics network is largely set up, as it is also in Germany. But that nearly 1 billion loss on international sales, Amazon Australia, they only launched that marketplace in December. They've had to build fulfillment centers. They've had to build the platform from scratch. They've had to bring sellers on board. They've had to start staff, build offices. And they've done the same in Singapore, talks of South Korea, Japan, India. There's been a lot of, eastwards movement from Amazon, which is it takes a lot of investment. Getting set up in all these different countries, hiring all these different people, putting logistics in place. It's not surprising to me that they made nearly a $1 billion loss on international sales. Just imagine what that's going to do when the investment is finished. When the networks are in place, that's going to go crazy. Like, you think the numbers that we're talking about today are crazy? It's only going to get even more mental. This is why Amazon has the potential to be the first $1 trillion company. And there can't be any question about that. I know there's talks of it being Apple, but with what Amazon are doing, I wouldn't bet against them. In 2017 alone, so again, not just Q4, this is 2017, Amazon hired 130,000 employees globally. Huge, huge numbers. Again, that's where a lot of this international expansion is coming from. A lot of this cost is coming from. 130,000 people. Now, the one interesting point that came out of the earnings call was when they got talking about Amazon Alexa. Now, again, Prime Day in 2017, the most sold product was the Amazon Echo. Black Friday, most sold product once again was the Amazon Echo, obviously built in with the Alexa smart speaker. So there's actually a quote here from Brian Olsavsky, who's the Senior Vice President and CFO, Chief Financial Officer for Amazon, who said, "We are very happy with the results of Alexa. It's a very positive surprise for us both. We had record device sales with very high levels of customer engagement, including increased levels of voice shopping, growth in functionality, growth in our partners we work with, skills that we've increased rapidly, and now over 30,000 Alexa skills. We've got 4,000 plus smart home devices from 1,200 unique brands. Obviously, Echo, Echo Show, and the Echo family, all directly tied to Alexa, but also the Fire TV and tablets. We're seeing more and more engagement. Alexa usage on Fire TV alone is up 9 times year on year." Then you've got Jeff. Jeff comes in, big Jeff Bezos, and says, "Our 2017 projections for Alexa were very optimistic, and we far exceeded them. We don't see positive surprises of this magnitude very often. Expect us to double down." That's scary, because we already see the domination of Alexa and the Amazon Echo amongst smart devices. It is it's the market leader by a long, long way. And from what Jeff said, he's not willing to let that go lightly. He wants to solidify his ownership of the smart speaker space and with Alexa. Now, to put this in perspective, there's a little bit of a story here from someone who I know used to work quite high up at Amazon over in the States. And he said he was in a meeting once, just back a few years ago when Amazon was nowhere near the behemoth it is now. And it was a meeting with Jeff Bezos, and he was talking, and he asked the attendees, the management attendees who were there, how tall they thought this from the ceiling to the roof of the room they were in was. And there were some people who were just throwing guesses out. There were some people who were roughly trying to sort of gauge from their height and how tall it would be. And one guy actually apparently left. One of the tech guys, one of the developers, went and left, got a tape measure, and him and his friend measured it. And that was what Jeff wanted. Jeff, I think he gave the guy a promotion or gave him some sort of bonus because he said, we don't deal in guesswork. We deal in facts. I don't want people guessing. I want people to find the answers. So for Jeff to say our 2017 projections for Alexa were very optimistic and we far exceeded them, that he'd set optimistic goals for Alexa. And by optimistic, I mean very, very optimistic but realistic goals, and they far exceeded them. That's what he means when he says we don't see positive surprises very often, because they know, they plan, they predict, they don't guess. And for him to say, expect us to double down, that is a massive warning shot to the likes of Google Home, to the HomePod, to Bixby, or whatever it's called, and all the other smart speakers that expect big things from Alexa through 2018. Now, with that said, that's not the main thing we want to talk about. Again, we're doing sort of a comparison here between eBay and Amazon. And the comparison makes for pretty surprising reading. Because like I said, right at the beginning, I stated, I remember when eBay was bigger than Amazon. And I remember when I first started my first business, Amazon and eBay were roughly the same size. That is no longer the case. We got some numbers here now. You may have to excuse the light reflection. I'll do my best to sort of block it. But as you can see, this top number here, 60 point, can you see that? I'm trying to block this out. 60.453 billion and 2.613 billion. Any guesses on what those numbers are? So this bottom number here was eBay's turnover in Q4. And this one was Amazon's turnover for the same period. Q4 alone, eBay did 2.6 billion, which was up, I think, 300 million year on year from 2016 numbers. And Amazon's Q4, 60.453 billion in Q4 alone for 2017. That was up just under 20 billion year on year. That growth is incredible. Not this growth, 300 million year on year in a 2.6 billion sort of figure is, to be expected. Growing nearly what? So they went from 40 to growing nearly 35% in a year. That's incredible numbers. And to put this in perspective, the difference is 2,213%. That's the difference between these two numbers right here. That's the difference between eBay's Q4 and Amazon's Q4. 2,213%. And you wonder why I made a video saying that if you're an e-commerce seller, you should have a Amazon Prime strategy for 2018. Because that number that I told you about, that 990 million loss that they made on international sales, that is potential. That's your potential right there. Amazon Prime in India, in Japan, in South Korea, in Singapore, in Australia, when it lands, that is where those early adopters are going to win. I can't stress that enough. We've looked at the numbers, and don't get me wrong, eBay is not dead. eBay is not a dead marketplace, and you should definitely still, if you're a true e-commerce business getting involved in multi-channel marketplaces, eBay is a fantastic platform and you should definitely be on it. You should not ignore those numbers. But we definitely cannot ignore Amazon's numbers. That's the point we're making today. That's why I made that video a few weeks ago about why you should have an Amazon Prime strategy for 2018. That investment they're making internationally. I mean, we even thought that Amazon in the US may be getting saturated. No, they grew more Prime members in 2017 than they've ever done before. Yes, of course, it will hit a saturation point where they cannot physically grow at the same speed they are doing, but they haven't hit it yet. 2018 might be the year they hit it. But this investment internationally, like I said, we've got Australia who still don't fully understand what Amazon arriving down under means. They think I'm mental when I tell them that, trust me, it's going to be a big deal. India, it's got 1 billion people population. Amazon are investing heavily there in logistics. China is a bit of an unknown, you know, with the Alibaba thing, but Japan, that's live. We've spoke about South Korea, Singapore. If you're selling online and you're not on Amazon, you're just throwing money away. You're leaving so much money on the table, I can't even begin to explain to you to the tune of how much opportunity is being missed. That's the power of Amazon. That's the power of Amazon Prime. And yeah, the Q4 earnings surprised me how big the numbers were for Amazon. And for me, it just solidified everything I've said for the past few months now. If you're selling online, you have to be selling on Amazon. If not, you're leaving money on the table. With that said, if you've got any questions about anything that I've talked about today, leave me a comment in the section down below. I actually have some links for you in the description. Click the Show More tab. There's a link to the eBay earnings report with lots more facts and figures than what I had time to go through today. There's a link to the Amazon earnings report, which again includes a little bit more information about AWS. I didn't touch on that today. That's a huge driver of business for them. And also, there's, for a bit of fun, the Amazon Alexa Superbowl ad. If you haven't seen that yet, again, check it out. It's one of the funniest sort of adverts from the Super Bowl that I've seen in many years. And yeah, again, Amazon dominating marketing. What can I say? If you've enjoyed this video or found it useful, please hit that like button and subscribe if you are new. And do me a favor, maybe share this video with someone who you know who may be selling online or selling on Amazon, especially if they're not yet selling on Amazon. Share this video with them. They should thank you later. That said, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you, as always, in the next video. I'll see you then. Bye.